Welcome back, guys. You're here to witness the 2-0 lead so far that Afreeca do have over Kingzone. It has been one big hell of a surprise, but a couple of mistakes here and there, and Afreeca are executing so well to win these games and take the lead.
Kingzone are mis-executing as Afreeca are executing. And then from their drafts, they're being able to play to their win conditions cleaner and just win these games straight up, Valdez. Game 2 was much less about straight up 2v2 mistakes like game number 1, but just in these sort of areas where you need to be clutch, Afreeca playing the front-to-back team fights better, getting Kramer some safety. He's been an item lead basically every game. I think you're gonna have to abandon this Kai'Sa priority if you're Kingzone. Kingzone DragonX will have side selection in game number 3. We've been informed they're choosing the blue side again. How are they going to find a blue side advantage? It feels like all the prep that Kingzone has done for today has been used against them by Afreeca Freecs.
Spirit had a massive game number 2. They banned his Olaf away against Taliyah. He's like, all right, I'll play my best champion right now, or at least it looks that way because he just stomped the entirety of Kingzone in game number 2 with his Gragas, made it look easy. The AP Runic Echoes to start into tank. Seems to be this new high-tier pick that especially Spirit can pull off.
And speaking of high-tier picks, Peanut has played 2 games of Taliyah this season and this series. His Taliyah has been fine, but Kingzone haven't been able to understand how to win with it. They haven't been able to find any advantages out of it. It feels like Taliyah into Afreeca Freecs, the trap card. 3-0 is Afreeca against Taliyah just in the wild card match and this match today. And Afreeca Freecs are looking for a historic victory. It'll be a huge upset for them to take down Kingzone DragonX given the relative forms of these squads. It's been a weird season. KT Rolster killed the memes. They won the regular season. SKT couldn't make it to playoffs for the first time ever. Will we see Afreeca Freecs take down Kingzone? This would mean the first ever final in LCK history with no Prey, no Gorilla, and no Faker.
We'd be making history, although I'm not sure if it's the history that a lot of people want to hear. It would be a new history, right? Be an interesting position to watch the finals from here if Afreeca can close it out, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Spirit, the obvious MVP from game number 2, 4-0-6 on the Gragas. Very well deserved, guys, and I have heard from our producer, we have a little bit of a video to show you guys, a bit of an interview after Spirit did win this MVP.
I hope he's trash talking. I know he couldn't have known he played this well, but damn, has he been good today.
Well, he deserves to now, right? But when this was filmed, we'll see how he was feeling. Let's look at it now.
킹존 잘하는 팀이죠. 저희가 아직 제대로 이겨본 적이 없는 팀이고, 근데 저희가 작년에 젠지를 롤드컵 보내줬잖아요. 제 그라가스로다가. 그래서 킹존이 저희를 꺾고 우승했잖아요. 이제 우승도 시켜줬으니까 자, 이번엔 저희한테 져줄 때가 안 됐나, 저희가 이길 차례가 아닌가 싶어서 또 맘 편히 먹고 하려고요. 네.
Well, there you have it. Spirit says it's our time to win, and his Gragas this time will be the way that they win, not they lose.
Isn't it nice when your pre-recorded voice actually lines up with where the series is at, and it's the time to talk trash? It's not over yet, though. Kingzone DragonX could come back and reverse sweep. It is in the realm of possibility, but not the Kingzone we saw games 1 and 2. So pick ban for game number 3. It's going to be an intriguing one, Valdez. Kingzone, they have the side selection again in this game number 3. They once again choose blue. They might go out this series 3 games on blue side.
3 games of blue side. We'll see what they decide to do with that Taliyah, because I don't want to see it. Put Peanut on something else. He has not been impressing. And Afreeca have 2 answers to it, not just one. The Olaf and the Gragas looked good into the matchup.
And you think back to what Peanut has been playing since Rift Rivals, since their wins over KT and Afreeca launched Kingzone into a 5-match winning streak. I'm thinking tanks. I think the Zac has been his best pick. The Sejuani's been a good one. I think Kingzone, they don't want to hand it over. They've had enough of it. They're still smiling. Credit to them. Really positive group of guys everyone knows from the Rox Tigers days.
Yeah.
Usually the team with the most Rox Tigers wins. There's only one Rox Tiger on Afreeca Freecs, but it's 2-0 up so far for Afreeca.
It almost looked like a embarrassed laugh from Peanut. He was like, yeah, I know, okay, I can't play the Taliyah. Now let me show you my true form. And guys, do not get excited. We've had reverse sweeps before. this might be the time for Kingzone to pull it back. I want to see them do it in the draft first, though. They're going to snap up that Varus and be real happy about that.
We had drafting coach comment. He and Zephyr, the drafting coaches from Afreeca, pointing at the ban and saying, pointing the pick and saying, yep, that's what I expected. So that's the adjustment that had to be coming. They weren't going to go out 3 games in a row, first picking jungle and then being counterpicked. We've seen no Xayah Rakan priority at all, but Afreeca Freecs are looking to go towards it. This presents an interesting conundrum for Kingzone, because when we saw Xayah Rakan winning the meta race for bot lane about 3 weeks ago, just after Rift Rivals, we were back on the Xayah Rakan hype train. The answer that came out to it was actually the lethality Varus in the bot lane, because you can outrange and outtrade and don't have to go Ninja Tabi into losing trades. Will it actually be that Comet Varus, or will it just be standard Varus? We'll find out soon. What we do know is that Peanut likely to be jumping on the Gragas, and they're just taking away things from the side of Afreeca Freecs.
I like what you have. Let me just take that away and use it to my benefit. Although I'm kind of doubtful that Peanut can do what Spirit did in game number 2. It'll be interesting to see what build path he decides to go down to. Will he bring in that AP Gragas, the Runic Echoes as well, or fulfill more of a tank role?
It's definitely not one of our legendary Gragas players in Korea. We have Score, Ambition, Spirit is making a case for himself as well. Peanut was always on the Nidalee and Elise side of the coin, but his Gragas looked pretty good this season. I mean, Malzahar, first round support choice for Kingzone. Now Afreeca Freecs, what they want. Probably going to be jungle in the first round, but if they want Yasuo, they probably need it now. That was the ban that was dropped to ban Taliyah blue side. See if Afreeca Freecs going to pick it up. They're just going to hover it and say, no, we're happy with Olaf. We're happy with another Predator jungler. I think Afreeca's just only going to play Predator junglers, and you know what? They're working out.
I remember when Predator first came in the beginning of spring. That's a cool picture of Peanut. A lot of people were saying, it's, kind of weak, it's all right. Received a buff here and there along the line, and now Spirit says, this is my favorite rune. I'm gonna make it work and own the world with it here.
So many respect bans already for mid lane. The secondary ban is for Afreeca Freecs. They banned Trundle, so seem to be thinking that Khan may be jumping on the top lane Gragas that he did play against Jace in a recent series. Wonder if that means Afreeca Freecs will be considering something like the Jace, because so far Keen has been on team fighting tanks rather than necessarily playing for lane. Kingzone, do they want to just ban away a Cho'Gath? They could consider that on the blue side.
Kind of like that idea with the Yasuo still available. Another kind of knock-up you could make work if you want to try to run that Yasuo. You would love the Gragas with the Yasuo, but not going to happen. LeBlanc is going to be the ban here, actually.
They are banning towards a 5th pick for mid lane, counter pick on the side of Afreeca, which means they might just be happy enough with the Cho'Gath being drafted for Keen at this pick. Will Afreeca change that, is what we're wondering. I think not. I think so far the Cho'Gath has played into the game plan. I'm going to talk more when we roll into game number 3 about the game plan that Afreeca have used holistically in this series now that we have multiple draft points. They'll change over to Orange. They go for even more reliable CC. This does help Olaf, because Orange can leave lane, can push out if there's a tank matchup like the Gragas, and then Olaf does the rest.
Seems like it works in tandem with that very well. Kingzone thinking about a good blind pick into the mid lane. Zoe is still left available, would be the first one here. I was talking about carry picks, the Rise. Not necessarily a big one here for BDD. He's played it from time to time to success, but Zoe has been his most played. They're also eyeing the jungler of Kindred up against this Olaf.
That would be the surprising choice, although Afreeca Freecs seem to have anticipated it with the jungle bans. They seem to also think that Khan would be on Gragas duty. So we'll end up on the Kindred. We'll see what the lanes are like around it. Afreeca Freecs have the last pick. What do we want to see into Zoe? The Victor would be the first Victor we've had all season. You could try to attack lane with something like the Aurelia. That's dropped off in priority very extensively in Korea. I see you shaking your head. Instead, it's going to be the Malzahar. One of the ways you can just camp through mid lane. You press the Predator button while the Malzahar presses the suppression button, and perhaps you get some kills on the Zoe. Ends up being Xayah, required to shoulder a lot of the damage on the side of Afreeca, but they are very reliable in the mid game. Once you have the Call of the Forge God and also the suppression from the Malzahar ultimate, Spirit again has some great places to jungle around. And if Peanut falls once or twice in the early game, the negative snowball of a Kindred is just as real as when the Kindred starts snowballing herself.
Yeah. You think about the other picks into the Zoe, maybe an Orianna, but that's been seeing not too much success recently. The Galio would leave you with a lack for damage outside of that Xayah. So I like the Malzahar. Forces Kingzone to pay that QSS tax. Whereas if there was no Malzahar, probably very late QSSs or no QSS on the side of Kingzone. So I feel like it rounds out their draft very nicely.
Nice lane priorities for Kingzone early, though. Before level 6s come in, they have a lot more room to play around. Morgana was always seen as a counter to Zyrakan. Remember the Kate Morgana bot lane days, the Varus. We already know about the lane strength there as well. Malzahar pre-ult, not very scary. Ornn pre-ult, not very scary. So maybe the jungle matchup will once again be where we have to draw our eyes. So far, these Predator junglers for Spirit have been able to go back, buy the boots, not be punished early. We haven't seen anything come out of the Taliyah 2 games in a row. I want to see some level 2 aggression from Peanut. He needs to take this game by the horns and make it about himself. Otherwise, Kingzone could be out of the series as early as they laned into it.
Peanut's got to make a name for himself here. You don't want to be the jungler that died at 0-3 up against Spirit. So far at 0-2, wants to take back the matchup. We'll see if he can do it. Jumping into game number 3 right now.
수환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
Here we go, guys. Playoff round 1. And if you're joining us late, it is actually 2-0 in favor of Afreeca. 2 very one-sided victories. Kingzone looking to take it back.
Kuro just broke the truce. He walked up and put down his E. The Malefic Vision's there. Couldn't get away with just a dance party. Kuro wants it all today. He's had enough of being on the losing squad against his old teammates Prey and Gorilla since summer of last year. Kuro has never been able to pick up a victory. Afreeca Freecs have lost every match, best of 3 or best of 5, since summer season of 2017. This would be a famous upset if they were able to pick up the victory. When it comes to damage dealt to champions, Afreeca have this slight lead.
Yeah, call it GG already. But the word in the brush means that Kingzone are trying to make it GG. They wanted to wait until it was too late for him to go back and regen his health. Forces him to use a potion, which, by the way, are even more, they're more important now because you only have 2, as the support items are a little bit more expensive by 50.
Khan is late to lane because it's the fake leash on the bottom side. It was Kindred soloing down the red buff, but Khan came to lane late with a bit of mana used in order to simulate that he was involved in the leashing process. I want to talk a bit of how Afreeca Freecs have found their victories, because it's very easy to come in and be like, oh, Kingzone's choking. They're the choking team, right? And that's why they've lost 2 games in a row. That's the lazy analysis. What's actually happened in this series has been very interesting. Kingzone have drafted, on the blue side, 2 games in a row, basically what all Korean players, analysts, anybody who's been following the game is considered the God comp. Right now, the God comp is considered to be a 1-3-1 comp with Ryze, something like Ryze now preferably. Strong split pushers, the Ryze and the Jace were blind picked in game number 1. You 1-3-1, you never really have to team fight. You find a huge lead through them. Ryze gets through every lane, right? Because now Time Warp Tonic is there, Corrupting Potion start, blah, blah, blah. That is what Kingzone have done. They have gone for the prevalent meta read. But if you think about what Afreeca did both games, they didn't opt into 1-3-1, make it a skill matchup of 1-3-1s. They went for a 4-1 Baron comp and said, we're going to have a comp that does Baron really well, that team fights really well, even though we have Keen, the national top laner who wants to skirmish everyone all day. Speaking of Keen, we might see him drawn in here. We'll finish the point later.
Boy. Peanut gonna have to flash here really early. And look at that Spirit, he's going for it. Level 3 on level 3. He misses the axe, but it doesn't matter. First blood once again as Peanut goes a little bit too deep. Kuro gonna eat a bit of damage, the ignite from the Zoe, but gets caught out once again, and Spirit gonna lap up that kill.
And this is Spirit making a proactive play before the boots come in. You assume he's gonna have another farming phase like he did in games number 1 and 2. But Valdez, the 1-3-1 comps that can get through lanes so well can be beaten around the Baron. They don't have face checkers. They're all about lane priorities. And Afreeca 2 games in a row made it around Baron because Kingzone made mistakes. those matchups only got better. The corrupting potion rise only gets better because you can just take trades and regen. It's not about moments like this where positioning errors are made. Afreeca Freecs use the vision advantage they have to catch down Peanut. If you try to run 1-3-1, run a squishy lineup, and die in the early game, the enemy team puts down 3 control wards, says, why don't you walk into Baron? And if you do, you lose. That's what Afreeca Freecs have been able to do, although Peanut's still on the front foot.
Well, he's cheating. He's got a Morgana in his back pocket.
And
interesting play here, yeah, and a redemption. And a Zoe. Good old Zoe doing Zoe things, but, you know, pushing on in, making sure that he can win even without the double buffs.
Kingzone will look at game 1 and 2 and say, but we got the draft we wanted. We got the 1-3-1 draft that everyone has been fighting for in the last 3 weeks of the LCK. The problem is, Afreeca Freecs knew that's where they were going. They were confident in isolating the jungle matchup and getting Spirit, a good Predator jungler matchup, into Peanut, and they knew that if Kingzone made mistakes, the 1-3-1 could never happen. They probably couldn't have expected as many mistakes as Kingzone made, but 1-3-1, Ryze, Gnar comps are only the best comp to run if you make no mistakes around them, and Kingzone have made plentiful, and credit to Afreeca, they have seized them and run away with this series so far.
Afreeca playing very well. We mentioned how Kingzone, the mistakes have been made here. It's no secret, but shout out to Afreeca and especially Spirit on his Predator. Speaking of which, trying to get on in there is going to get bound up by the Morgana. They get the heal out here. Aren't going to overcommit on the bottom side.
Get a summoner though for free, just a Predator pop to make that one happen. If Spirit had flash, he might have flashed the binding and just look for the chain Qs. The burst slow landed onto Prey, but Black Shield was going to be enough. On the top side, Keen's having no real fun. He's down quite a lot of CS and the minion wave being frozen away. But Keen hasn't opted into this, I'm going to choose also for the 1-3-1 and fight, and then maybe I can split push better, that you might have thought of Keen from the summer season. He's been on carry duty most of this season. It's back to spring season Keen. We had a spring final where top lane carry in Khan played Cho'Gath every game. That's Keen's role this time out.
Good smite there from Peanut and a trouble bubble here that actually is going to land though onto Peanut, but Khan somehow getting the first roam from the top side, level 6 on level 5 against the Ornn. And so another mark will be picked up here at least for Peanut.
And that's the good news. With the adjustments they've made, in game 3, Kingzone say, okay, this 1-3-1 that we're trying to brute force is not working. Kingzone don't have a 1-3-1 comp this time. They have a pretty similar comp to what Afreeca have, but maybe better siege. With the Zoe and the Varus, they also have strong lanes for Peanut to jungle around. He's turned those strong lanes into a couple of marks, death to be true, but he already has 3 marks super early in the game.
Also winning in the Scuttle Crabs as Spirit had foregone both of the Scuttle Crabs actually.
It's losing bot side, losing mid lane. We already mentioned that Keen and Kuro need their ults to be able to fight back and roam with their jungle. It's triple cleanse as well. So at the end of the day, when you see triple cleanse, it's basically Afreeca Freecs saying, white flag, can we please have some items? That means plenty of room for Peanut to jungle around. So credit to Peanut for not being discouraged by his early death and still looking to get his hand in the cookie jar. Kramer, Tucson, Kuro, they're showing off the cookie jar, and needs to be Peanut punishing them for these scaling choices.
Yeah, well, we'll see what lane he does want to head towards if he is trying to get a gank off and actually make his lanes go ahead. He does have the level 7 Khan right now over Keen, who does have just a bunch of magic resist. There's a ward here to spot Peanut. He will not be going down. So far, Peanut's jungle has been okay outside of the kill. Or the death, rather, I should say. He did get the 3 marks, but when will he begin to affect the lanes? He's going to try to ult this one, Keen. Ult it down, but there's the stun. No cast just yet. Just a bunch of damage. The cast into the auto attack from Peanut. Getting, oh boy, he needs to get close, and no! Keen is going to survive with 40 health. How did that even happen? The perfect pillar comes out of the ground to save his life.
Pop your potions. That's what you have to remember at home, boys and girls. He had a potion running the entire time. Khan and Peanut do a much better job of juggling than they did in game number 1, but still go down. Another mistake from Kingzone DragonX. Not the sort you can make on a day like this. It's a day to be clutch. But we're not seeing the clutch plays from Kingzone.
They waited so long. Khan tanked up so much, but I think he failed the dash over the pillar as well.
He does buy just before he ults the minion wave. This is the right ult. Do not try to ult Peanut or Khan. Get the minion wave down so they tank aggro. Love the Bellows Breath timing. He falls down to so low health. Gets out of range of Wolf as well. Kindred goes down. If she has ultimate, that play is fine. She does not. 2 kills on the board to Afreeca.
And how about more? As coming in from behind here is Tucson and Spirit. This time around, the game is not going to accelerate out of control. Oh, I say that into the hold down, into the knock-up, and he should be dead now. BDD playing with this mood. We've seen that many times before with the portal jump on Zoe. You have this much suppression in CC, you're gonna go down.
Akuro doesn't even need to flash to make it happen, Valdez. BDD knew the players around there, but I guess he's trying to be a pressure valve now. He also is contributing to the demise of Kingzone DragonX. Every metric before this series started suggested that Kingzone would run away with it. The meta, it's right in their hands. Everyone was saying it. It was even said in the pre-match roll here of the meta, it's back to spring, it's back to Kingzone. They went 16-2 in that series. Peanut is on a run of 5 consecutive finals since he joined the Rocks Tigers in 2016 spring. 2 on SKT, 2 on Rocks, 1 on Kingzone. Take down BDD in this one. You come into this game, when it comes to LCK titles, Khan has 2, Peanut 3, BDD 2, Prey 4, all the way back to Najin's Sword many moons ago, and Gorilla 3 for 14. Afreeca have only 2, 1 on Kuro, 1 on Spirit, Rocks Tigers and Samsung Blue respectively. And they've never beaten this squad since BDD and Khan joined. But I think Afreeca made the really smart call in games 1 and 2 of not opting into a 1-3-1 arms race against BDD and Khan, making it about the Baron, making it about the reliability. And they found the mistakes they couldn't have even hoped for from Kingzone. And now in game number 3, turns out you can't just put to one side 2-game losses. Kingzone have been an emotional team in losses. They have lost series. They haven't been clutch. And in the clutch, with your backs against the wall and needing to win 3 in a row, we are seeing more mistakes from Kingzone to compel their already 2-game losses.
That's exactly right. It needs to be cleaner here from Kingzone. And unfortunately, all of those predictions that everybody had where Kingzone was winning 3-0, 3-1, that was the clean Kingzone, the macro Kingzone, the one that didn't make mistakes. That's not what we're seeing tonight. And unfortunately, that's going to have to change for them. They're already down 2. We'll see what they can do here. Peanut now at 0-2 in this one. Has the Black Shield for now. They'll just go for the Morgana instead. Did get that Kindred ultimate down, and Zoe doing damage in the backside. Peanut getting low, though. The blast on over, and oh, he died, actually, to the Kindred. Afreeca going to go down 2 of them now. Kuro going to stopwatch. That's not what you want. Turns out that actually in the end he will survive for now. Kramer trying to help him out in the end, but there's the chain of corruption. Cleanse comes in, missed paddle star from BDD, but Afreeca now trying to bite off more than they can chew, and all of a sudden Kingzone now have a lead.
Really nice play from Kingzone with the Lamb's Respite. First one of the game from Peanut. That one was clutch. Allowed Gorilla to get away without even having to flash. He did not die in that exchange. On the top side, not enough mana to actually solo kill Khan, you would think.
He's going for it. Brittle stacks come in, and not the stacks, but the amount of times you can get it on top of Khan in succession, but not going to go for it as the minions were there.
The winning lanes for Kingzone means they still have CS advantages in this final game, and now they also get the 2 kills. Notice that Kuro actually opens up with ult and doesn't have his Malefic Visions running at the start, so doesn't get the increased duration. Would that have been enough to kill? Hard to say, but over the wall, Peanut, that last auto attack, with all the marks he has, does way more damage than the enemy is expecting.
See, he was stacked too, so It was the final one. He was under 15% health. With the help of Varus, he just chokes him down.
Spirit will feel really hard done by. They didn't get the kill there, but that was certainly a nice moment for Peanut. The 3 stacks of the press the attack and the E stacks from getting those marks were important. An important turnaround, and speaking of turnarounds, Peanut defying expectation a little bit. He's gone for the Swifty boots here, wants to keep invading and wants to also not die to the first axe from the Olaf and try to disregard that first slow.
Things going to slow down a little bit now as Afreeca can't really ramp it up as they have in the first 2 games. 4 stacks here for Peanut now, as he was thinking about an early Rift Herald at 13 minutes. Looks like he is going to leash that one, though, and run away.
13.5 minutes is very early for 4 stacks in that extra 75 range. Afreeca, Spirit's going to hit the lane. He's still a level above Peanut, getting some turret damage here. Never talked about, but not lethality Varus. It is the normal Varus, and Spirit gets chunked out to try to dissuade this play.
Gorilla thinking about it here. Did have the mobility boots, not going to go for it. As even Kuro was the first one to move on down.
Control ward is still sticking from Afreeca over the wall. That was why we saw Spirit go bot lane, and they said, okay, well, you're going to get an implied turret for a real turret, and that's why Peanut had to pull away. Peanut is now here. Very, very quick around the rift.
We have a QSS already from BDD, as he has paid his tax. Nobody else has just yet, but he's the most important one. That means that now he can be more aggressive. He can be that kind of pressure valve, as long as there aren't 3 or 4 people there.
But in Game 2, we talked about the stopwatch surplus, where they bought stopwatches when they were ahead Afreeca Freecs to close out the game around Baron, have that huge stopwatch advantage, was 4-0. I believe at the time, these are the taxes, very much at the cost of having a first item completion, a blasting wand towards the Ludens that we're expecting from BDD. It does mean that the gold lead is pretty minimal at this point. Again, the Varus Morgana expected to beat Zyrakan. The Zoe, very good against Malzahar early. The top lane going better than expected for the Gragas, but we see a lot less Gragas top in Korea recently. Things still comfortable for Kingzone, but those first 3 kills really do lend to the creeping doubt that this series is put onto the side of Kingzone.
Kingzone more comfortable than they ever have been in this entire series. Still down 0-2, but finally they have a gold lead in this one. Can they pull it together and actually win a game? They don't have Peanut on Talia. I feel like that's a start. They also got Zoe, which is BDD's most played. He's 10-2 on the pick. He's a big-time carry on a pick like Zoe.
So let's talk about what these 2 team comps do, because we talked about how Kingzone didn't go super into the 1-3-1 Rise Gnar kind of split push comp. While they don't necessarily have the best Baron comp, because the problem for them is that their teleport user is their only tank. They have a Kindred, and Kingzone have actually found it very difficult to close games without a jungle tank. I remember the game where they had 3 turrets to 0 lead at 13 minutes, but couldn't get a Baron and lost that game at 38 earlier in the season. So okay, Baron for them, decent speed, but of course not the tankiness to do it with no jungle tank or support tank. What they do have is very strong siege with Zoe and Varus, especially when Zoe gets the first item completed. The Ludens on the way soon. Afreeca Freecs have another Baron comp on their side. That's what they're about, making this game about Baron like they could in games 1 and 2. So Kingzone want to get control wards around the mid lane. They want to start sieging. When they have those core items, that's what the comp they picked does this time around.
Yep. Mountain Drake gonna help out with that one. Let's see if they can actually get on the front foot here. The laning phase has kind of surprisingly extended for a long time. 17 minutes into the game. Still no first turret has gone down. That's partially because Afreeca got that early lead, but then kind of threw it in the last fight. Neither team was able to accelerate just yet, as Kingzone have now caught up and are looking to do that. But Afreeca, still with a bit of a push in the bottom side, will be able to finally take out that first turret down in the bottom side.
Are we doing it again? Once more with feeling. Keen this time, going to walk away. Could ult the next minion wave.
Just have that available. Says, well, there's no minions here, so they can't push just yet.
They're trying to aggro the minion wave and stop it from meeting close to the turret, but they're going to lose 2 turrets for this.
Peanut spending so much time in the top side trying to help out with that one, even without a minion wave, and now there is no protection for the mid lane. As even Prey returning to the bottom side, trying to clear up some of those minions, but that means 2 turrets in the span of 15 seconds.
Does Peanut make the exact same play if so many turret dives haven't gone their way like they have this series? Your first thought is no, Valdez. They walk top lane, they're trying to cross map. The macro play is much simpler for Afreeca. Just roll through mid lane, put down some Voidlings, take another turret. As 2 turret to 0 trade, the side of Afreeca Freecs, and Spirit has been everywhere this series. Someone who has had some down weeks. I thought he was pretty poor at Rift Rivals as well, was Spirit, especially in that final game where all the lanes lost and Spirit could really only walk around and kind of be sad about where his lanes were at on the Sejuani. He's jumping on the Predator junglers, and man, is he making them work. And this kind of feels like the series for Kingzone.
Insult to injury, salt in the wounds, the red buff leashing, whatever you had it. Doesn't look like too much, but actually it does keep Peanut off the rift for an extra 10 seconds after backing, so definitely annoying and something that he can feel.
You noted the extended laning phases. Remember that we're on 8:15 with an extended laning phase for maybe the first time in 5 games. We've had some pretty action-packed ones between the Gen G series and this one for Afreeca. Remember that Kramer, who's our first Xayah player we've seen on 8:15, his core item build is 700 gold cheaper. That means that with just farming down 10 CS, he's going to get there a lot earlier in the game. Going to be working towards Zeal item into Infinity Edge. You would imagine that's going to come online earlier, and usually 2-item Varus is going to be what we're all speaking about. The 3-item Xayah following that 2-item Varus is not going to be offset by 7 to 10 minutes. It's going to be 2 to 5 minutes, and it might even be parity if a couple of kills go the way of Afreeca Freecs.
Looking to set up around this Baron, the Rift Herald. It's too late for her. She's going to go bye-bye. Sorry, Geraldine. Tusing going to be locked up here for quite a bit with the binding. Afreeca just trying to make another play, try to take another outer turret. And once again, just get that vision down. They've been all about the control wards. They have 2 in the bottom side. Control over that Drake, even though they're not going for it just yet. 2 elsewhere up in the top side. Looks like we're going to be taking a little bit of a back seat here for the next 5 or so minutes as Afreeca go back and buy some items. And no team is going to take that extended lunge to the Cloud Drake just yet.
One of my favorite things watching traditional sports broadcasts, especially around the BBC and stuff like that, is when the commentators will look at the players' facial expressions and talk about what they could be thinking about or what emotions they might be feeling. Kind of the fun thing to do in this game, while there's been a lot of posturing but no action, is that you know that right now Kingzone, something like the Predator pop is going to rattle them. They're going to be like, okay, what's going on here? We've been caught by this too many times. It's the accumulation of 2 games of losing for Kingzone in a row. Also, your item timings. You've got things like QSS. You've got things like half-finished items. You're not going to be so confident in your item timings because you've been off on your calculations so far this series. Meanwhile, Afreeca knows that everything they do is a mind game because they're 2-0 up and because basically everything they've touched has gone to gold. So it's just funny watching Kingzone because it's so obvious that for now, they're going to be orb walking a half step back in the same case where a week ago they would have been orb walking forward looking for opportunity, because you're all about minimizing risk when you're paying QSS tax, when you've lost 2 games in a row, when you're staring down a 3-0 loss and your world's dreams being set back pretty extensively. For Afreeca, they can kind of do whatever they want, and the end result of that disarray where they have kind of a threat advantage and Kingzone are feeling threatened is that I bet Kramer gets his items a lot faster in the meantime of all of this.
You mentioned orb walking. We have a couple of auto attackers specifically on the side of Kingzone, Peanut and Prey. Gonna have to go for that, but it looks like an early Randuin from the side of Spirit. It's been interesting to look at his item builds so far in this game, especially on the Gragas. Something that can be kind of flex, but 2 games of Olaf. This time around, it's going to be the Randuins trying to go into that back line and charge straight ahead.
He's going to rush at Peanut. If he gets the Lamb's Respite on just Peanut, it's a win. If Peanut's trying to kill Vision, he's going to have a lot of ability to slow him down. Randuin's always been a core item on the Olaf in builds past. I still remember the super old days of 15% CDR Randuins from 2010.
Yeah.
Those were the days. Famous CLG jungler Lil Balls, loved that one. Yep.
Yeah.
We're going back a long way for things like that. But
I kind of remember that name.
he was a Taipei Assassins World Champion.
Yeah. Wonder what he's up to nowadays.
I know he was coaching for a while, but the pendulum turns, but it always turned the way of Prey and Gorilla. It always turned the way of Kingzone in recent memory. Remember, Prey, Gorilla, Faker. Those 3 players, at least one of them, often 2, have been in every LCK final since we even named the league the LCK in spring 2015. They lose this game, none of those 3 players are in the final. It's a generation shift in many ways.
Could be Afreeca up against Griffin, maybe Griffin win. You have Griffin versus KT. KT making their way to the finals, and they're going to be cheering for Afreeca as well. I mentioned not to get excited as this game is not over. The gold is exactly even right now. Right on the 0 mark, as you guys can see. It's gone 1,000 each way, but it all comes back to equilibrium here. Who is going to take that first step to take the lead? So far, in terms of vision, you can always look towards Afreeca. The extra 2 turrets are going to do that job as well. Where's their next move going to be, though? Are they going to rush onto that Baron, try to go for a turn? We mentioned how they've gone for multiple compositions like that.
Right now, no control wards cemented around the Baron, and Kramer is inching his way towards the Infinity Edge. Already got the first BF sword in there. Build path change, 100 gold cheaper on that Infinity Edge. The top side, no picks onto Prey, it turns out, after the first 2 games. On the Varus this time, so it can outrange a lot easier than the Kai'Sa games. When they get the control wards to stick, when Kingzone's options are to corral themselves into a couple of axes or the Ornhorn, things get trickier for Kingzone around this Baron unless they can get a pick like this.
Well, that's Zoe for you. As Spirit loses half his health for a free, essentially. Spirit gonna have to back away. As now Kingzone will get control of that river. We haven't talked much about the top lane. Khan has continued to run that lead, about 50 CS ahead. Doesn't mean much as the Gragas can't really solo kill the Ornn at this point, and neither can the Ornn. It's going to be up to their teleport plays.
His item timings are also a little bit more distressing because Keen just needs a Warmox, and then he can just tank the Baron, pull off the Baron, and whereas the Gragas can't build items to kill the Ornn because he's Ornn, and Gragas is a tank. So his items are a lot more situations, just trying to buy as many combat stats as possible. Kingzone don't have the same options around the Baron because of the differing team comp there. So just a reality of the purchases. So even though Keen is down, 50-odd CS, half Flame Horizon, no problem for Keen. He's playing on for team comp. Keen no longer focusing on himself, just wants to get carried all the way to a 3-game victory over Kingzone DragonX.
Yeah, had a good game on the Ornn in game 1. Good Cho'Gath performance as well. So getting carried just in the sense of carry champions. Good play from his teammates. The Predator is going to be popped here from Spirit. Look at that damage coming out of Kramer on a Peanut. Kindred, of course, not a very tanky champion. You got to be careful that you don't get baited into a Lamb's Respite because then Afreeca say, okay, let's start the Baron.
Infinity Edge on the way as well. Just a couple of daggers and a recipe left for Kramer. 100 gold cheaper. See when that 700 gold discount on Stormrazor, Zeal item, and Infinity Edge comes online with 26 minutes in. Probably pre-30s.
Kramer trying to go 1v1. Prey nearly goes down in the end. Oh boy. Zoe always threatening on the side. Spirit now going to be slowed down. Peanut with the red buff is going to trade a bit of damage back. This game is so tense right now. Really could go either way, but with the damage on the Prey, it looks like Afreeca have opened up a 3rd turret to 0.
Ornn roams back down. They get the 3 turrets. It becomes a long map, and don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that get 3 out of turrets, put down some control wards, and the question mark pings on Baron will begin from the side of Kingzone. They are very squishy outside of their side lane Gragas, and 1 black shield isn't going to be enough once the horn is blown. So Kingzone, one of the few ways to stop that, roam as a team and try to make this game about what they want to do rather than playing into Afreeca Freecs' wheelhouse.
Just looking at Khan sprint from the bottom lane all the way towards the Baron. I thought maybe he had gone insane. No, just trying to support the mid lane, maybe look for Kuro, but stops over, clears out the control wards. They just get replaced as Afreeca never seems to run out of them. You notice that they don't have too many in the inventory right now, but the support jungle have them, and the other lanes put them in safe places so that they stay alive for longer.
Feels like the tipping point's coming very soon. Feels like we're 5 minutes away from this game being decided in many ways. Seeks convergence there on Kramer. He's just farming up the last bit and then getting the call from his team that he's safe to recall. Predator put just to clear a ward, but Spirit unable to get to the ward as Kingzone have already rotated first around mid. This is exciting, exhilarating stuff in the side lane.
Yeah. Fat Man versus big armored Fat Man.
Your job is, if we get another side lane shot before the next action happens, to hype it, please, Valdez. Shout about the 1v1 between Gragas and Ornn. Fans need something to be shouting about.
I'll see what I can do. I know the kids these days, they only want excitement.
We're going for the YouTube crowd. We got to get in there.
Appreciate a good laid-back macro game.
Well, it's going to be a ruse for a while. The Infinity Edge is there from Kramer. I almost said something really weird, but the Infinity Edge is there.
I mean,
so
you did.
This is what he wanted to get to. 28 minutes the timer, Valdez, would have been later in previous patches. Now a lot of the options for Afreeca are opened up. Speaking of opening up, first turret rolls down. But you worry that if Kramer free hits like he could do so many times on Varus in Game 1 and Game 2, the game ender might be on the way from the Xayah.
That's what she's all about. We don't really have the Kai'Sa this time around. It is the Xayah Keen up against Khan here. Just going to be fighting over this control war. Barrel is going to do a bit of damage. Backs him away. Sorry, that's about as good as I can do.
I remembered your play-by-play being more hype.
You know, it's game 3. They're looking for a pick on a BDD. He flashes that one. Real flash, by the way. And that means that it opens up a lot of opportunities to go for picks onto the Zoe later the next time around.
1-0-1 flash. Decent trade from the side of Afreeca. Still a while. I think it was level 15, so not the shortest cooldown ever. Khan's alone, but also is Gragas, so we'll be okay.
Afreeca are really controlling this mid lane right now. Kingzone wanted to move up towards the top side, and Afreeca essentially said no with their bodies. Moving in, zoning them out, a lot of posturing. It's a word we use a lot of the time, but it's really what it's all about.
I think Afreeca need to end with the pleasantries. They have that Infinity Edge. They have the lethal tempo Xayah. Didn't even go for the more standard laning keystone there. Didn't go for the sustain in lane that you can get. Going for the fleet footwork. Went for lethal tempo. Zeke's convergence. It will be unbelievable damage from Kramer. Reminiscent of Bang popping off on the Xayah against Life Esports a few weeks ago. And the front line, count the armor items. Well, there's one. It's a dead man's play onto the Gragas. So all that really does is movement speed, then health and armor, but it's much more about the playmaking than about the defensive side. So Kramer is definitely set up to succeed in the next fight.
Tune into Tavi as well. That's about all you can ask for. But basically 0 armor. You notice that the Cloud Drake was taken, could have been taken earlier by Kramer. He takes it now with the Elder going to spawn next time around. Side Cloud Drake is good enough. They don't want anything else to spawn. Afreeca still waiting on the items.
Speaking of items, interesting choice by Kuro. I haven't seen this before, but he's actually gone for the Spellbinder Malzahar. It's not quite Predator Malzahar. We had a couple of times, but similar idea, all about the catch. Seems like the ult onto the Morgana would be the easiest one to pull off. As triple QSS is there, so maybe just ulting Morg before she can use Black Shield. That'd be ideal. Back to the side lane, as Keen has not lost his turret in this lane at all. Only the single turret taken by Peanut and, I believe, Prey in the top lane earlier. But Afreeca haven't been able to stop the Baron in a way they could have previously. Found spotted, backing on a ward.
They might just go straight for the Baron. They're thinking about it here. Gonna deny some vision. All the damage immediately onto this Baron. TP coming in. Spirit is here, and so is Kuro. Keen gonna be in here. Will he get the ultimate off? They need to get the smite here, but Spirit is slept for too long, and the smite comes in. They're looking for that engage, though. Tucson trying to charm everyone up. No follow-up from the Ornn, and Tucson getting too low. Everybody piling in on the line for smite. Kramer doing the damage, but he might go down here. Peanut takes him out. Peanut, though, will go super low. It's all the Peanut show. He gets 3 kills in the end. And now we have Keen with the stone plate, but it's a total rout this time in favor of Kingzone as Keen. What can he really do here? Not all that much on the Ornn. Should be the Baron and a 4-for-0 going to the side of Kingzone.
You can only waste some time. This time Kingzone profit off a ward. The ward got them so much value. They claim the Baron. Spirit can't get in there to contest. His smite steals have been impressive in recent memory. In the disarray that follows it, so many low health members in the Lamb's Respite. But they can't get the safe fight, they can't get the Baron set up. Afreeca Freecs, this was supposed to be about them on the Baron, but Kingzone catch them napping in literal and figurative ways. They get the Baron, and this allows Kingzone to take the control of the first game of this series.
The cast hits Keen away, so he can't follow up with the call to Forge God. There was no big knock-up afterwards that may have kept Kramer alive to do the damage in the back. It was all Peanut. It's that fed Kindred that even though he gave away the first blood, got so many marks, and now we're here 33 minutes into the game where he has 2.5 items and can do that consistent damage in the Lamb's Respite.
And the Baron warps the game, Valdez, because suddenly the Siege comp has Baron. So they roll up to a lane, Trouble Bubbles and Chains of Corruption are everywhere. The marks on the Kindred will make her poke pretty reliable. And if Afreeca Freecs fail and engage, if they fail and all in, the game just ends. So looking at the numbers from the previous fight, Malzahar does 3,400 damage, but that was the fight where Kramer was expected to hit close to the 10,000 damage number if he stayed safe. He couldn't, and that's how much Kingzone can get with 1 minute 30 on the Baron.
Another thing I wanted to mention from the fight was that Spirit had his ultimate and his flash available, but he got trouble bubbled, and he didn't even ultimate straight away. He just waited, decided not to flash in. They had vision as well. He just decided not to take that risk to go in and try to go for the 50-50 smite battle, but ends up taking too much damage. That's why he did 60 damage in the entire fight, because he was just out of it from the get-go.
A lot of standing gold here is what's finally opening up the gold lead for Kingzone. The first minute of their Baron was wasted killing an Ornn, which, you know, just things you have to deal with at the competitive level. Ornn, hilariously tanky. Took a long time to go down, but they do now get 2 turrets visibly. Now at a 4-3 turret advantage. Kingzone roll through the mid lane. They'll want 1 more turret with this 40 seconds of Baron buff duration.
We're gonna push in now. That's the Zoe on the composition, Chains of Corruption, and the Trouble Bubble onto Kramer. As Afreeca, they're gonna move on into their main base as they cannot defend that inner turret. Cass comes in, gets Keen into a bad spot, but he's going to be just fine. Only that 1 turret goes down.
Baron will wear off before the minion wave actually aggroes onto the turret. Frustrating time for Kingzone. It would have been desperate for another 30 seconds. So if you think about it, Keen taking a minute to die is also a big reason they don't even have a speck of damage done onto their inhibitor turrets. They back away. That's the Baron they needed. It stabilized the game that seemed to be snowballing away from them. You saw a different game where Afreeca just made it about Baron and they didn't have the tools to be able to answer them, but a very nice ward gets them the first Baron, maybe the second Baron with the aforementioned Zoe Varus Siege will be enough to close the game for Kingzone DragonX.
Well, they're going to be looking for that next objective, and speaking of which, it's 40 seconds to go until this Elder Drake does spawn up in the bottom side. That was supposed to be the timing for Afreeca. Get the Baron, don't back double 2 people on a ward, don't give it away, get the Baron yourself, go for a push, take an inhibitor, get the Elder Drake, try to end the game with your engaged composition. That's not the way this game has gone, and now, because of that dragon that they did take, it might just be Kingzone lapping up another easy objective, looking for this Elder Drake.
Been a big favorite jumping off onto the Twin Shadows, see it on Gorilla just to spot out the Malzahar if he's popping around for a flank, so that's very much about shutting him down. We already mentioned how Malzahar's run out of ult targets, except Gorilla, if he can get him pre-Black Shield, or pop the Black Shield first. The Elder Drake is spawned, but it's not a high value one. Still, Afreeca Freecs, their comp is all about setting up around objectives. Here we go.
Yeah, you'd love to pick this one up. They're gonna actually get Gorilla as he face checks into 5 people.
Okay.
Easiest Malzahar ultimate you've ever seen. As well, now they're thinking about going for 4v5. They still have it. The engage here, gonna get on top of that DragonX, but he does have his stopwatch. Follow-up is not gonna be there actually from Keen. Really nice cast, and Kramer goes down to the back line. Keen will as well in the front. BDD is carrying this from the backside, and the rest of the team, but Kramer trying to take him out, only gets Peanut in the end, and now BDD trying to take them down. Spirit will actually survive. Unless BDD has something to say about it, the axe is going to be dodged. 1 more portal jump should do it. Trying to land, oh, he actually gets the max range Trouble Bubble. BDD, unbelievable mechanics, and now they're looking for more.
And that might actually end the game. They're going to try here, Kingzone. They're going to get as much advantage as they can. Long death timers on Afreeca Freecs.
Well, it's only Kuro. We'll see what he can do. BDD's low, but they have a full health Prey in the front line who has 4 items. They're pushing in, and Kingzone, I don't know which one of you guys got excited, but Kingzone want to make it about them. They want to win this matchup and go on to the playoffs and on to Worlds. Gonna take out these 2 Nexus turrets and try to focus this down. The Malzahar ultimate isn't enough. Tucson trying to stop it, but he can't. And Kingzone finally take a map in this series.
Kingzone adjust their strategy, no longer with the Rise priority, no longer with the 1-3-1, and they will not go down without a fight. They are going to swing back at Afreeca Freecs. One big play around the Baron, actually putting up their hands and saying, let's win this game with a Baron, rather than make it about an Afreeca Freecs Baron bait. It's what wins them the game. BDD skips around on the Zoe, moving to 11-2 on the season. Afreeca Freecs, they're starting to finally feel the heat. It was almost too easy, suspiciously easy in games 1 and 2. Kingzone DragonX, a proud team on the domestic scene. They're gonna come back. Some smiles still being shown by Kingzone. We're going to a game number 4.
Smiles for Kingzone as they win, but even a smile on Spirit's face after he was not able to go for the steal. And the game was stolen away, actually, by Kingzone in that one. Quick Baron with that Mountain Drake. Take a look at how this fight went down. Spirit, or rather Gorilla with a mistake here, gets in range without his black shield. Then it was all about BDD poking in the back.
I feel like Afreeca are trying to do a lot of things here. We see 3 kiting topside and Kramer and Keen, keeping the Elder Drakes leashed this entire time. Tucson doesn't get a lot of value out of engage, and we know the QSSs are there. So would have Afreeca Freecs. They're poking around, they're not getting value, and BDD says, I'll take 1 large Xayah, please, and put her into the death chamber. Kramer gets no value. Kramer's out of the fight. 2 fights in a row where Kramer, at a huge item timing, doesn't do anything around the Baron, is assassinated around the Elder Drake. Nice job, BDD. And he even cleans up Spirit for the final kill.
Double flash, dodges the axe. Portal jumps to the side, actually, to land that trouble bubble. He knows the range of every ability on that Zoe as he moves to 11-2 on the pick. The guy looks unstoppable on it. Question is now, game 4's pick and ban should get even more layered and complicated. That's a lot more things to think about now as we go into it. But guys, we are gonna have to take a break before we do go to game number 4. We'll be right back.